go. Aaron Smith is speaking at a conference in Starkville. I think that's tomorrow. We'll talk to him. He's a native of the south side of Chicago, earned a bachelor's degree in business management from Columbia College in Chicago, and wasn't there long after he began his journey with the criminal justice system. And Aaron is with me this morning. Aaron, if you'll allow me to give a little background on you. Aaron knew he had the son of or the soul of an entrepreneur. But in this particular time before you could get to that revelation in 2009, you had a little bit of departure from your residency. Aaron Smith, good morning, sir, the founder of Escaping the Odds. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Paul.
You certainly are. That I know you're not in Starkville right now because I can see that high-rise building behind you. So I guess you are in Chicago. It almost looked like the Marina Towers. That's not the Marina Towers behind you, I don't think.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a little further north.
A little further north. All right, talk. First of all, tell me about this departure, 2009, and your life took a turn, and share that with us, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I look back on it, it was a turn for the better. Just looking at it from a different perspective, I was indicted along with 40-plus other co-defendants on a large-scale drug trafficking, heroin conspiracy here in the Chicagoland area. And I was sentenced to 12 years for my involvement in that conspiracy. And I completed almost a decade, 9 years and 5 months. I was released in February of 2019 at the age of 37.
37 years old. You look at this, and I mean, you were dealing in some pretty nasty stuff, heroin and fentanyl.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Before, right now, fentanyl is very popular. Then I think it was more of a new design and kind of a thing, and that was something that I definitely regret.
Well, take it from there, because you said you spent 12 years in federal prison for that. What was that like for a young man to go to prison? And I mean, that was your first trip to prison, was it not?
Yes, it was. I didn't know what to expect, but what I did expect of myself was to come home a better person, not a bitter person. Fortunately, I had a couple years when I was on bond, and so I had the opportunity to get my mind right, so to speak, growing my faith, and so that only accelerated once I actually walked behind those walls and realized, like, hey, this is the real deal. You're either going to come out better or bitter, and I decided to come out better and kind of make some things of myself, and I sold myself short, Paul.
I'm wondering, though, Aaron, what's the difference between you and people who have this experience put upon them and they come out worse, or that they don't? There's not a light that turns on to them, and they want something different. Yeah. What is it? The upbringing? Is it just who you are? Part of your DNA? Is it the instructions or the help you get in prison? What's the formula that's different about you taking this experience and turning it around, and others that wind back up in prison through recidivism?
Yeah, that's a great question, Paul. And you kind of hit it on when you said it's part of your DNA. But in addition, you have to want it for yourself, not for your mom, not for your children, not for your spouse. It's something that needs to be internal, that, you get fed up with being fed up and living that kind of a lifestyle. That it's something that you want differently. And so that's what it was for me. I realized, along with my faith too, I realized, hey, I could have done so many other things. I had a business degree. I never really utilized it because I used it in the streets, so to speak. And so prison was my darkest gift. I tell people often that I went to prison on purpose. I truly believe that I was placed there. Of course, I had consequences to kind of handle, but me going to prison on purpose was allowing me to live out basically what how do I say it? Pretty much just being able to take a situation and just flip it on its head. And I truly believe that God knew that I'd be the person for that.
I heard a stat one time that said and it was a news story, not a stat, but a news story, and it wasn't that long ago. It basically said that if you talk to any of the 10 years old, 12 years old, 14, 15 teenagers in the African-American community, they fully expect to go to jail, and that's going to be part of their life experience. And I thought, if that's the case, man, we are in trouble.
Yeah, I never heard that stat before. I can see how some of our youth can feel that way. I certainly didn't feel that way when I was 10 or 12 years old. I never expected to spend almost a decade in federal prison. However, there's a lot of things that kind of ride on that. Of course, your upbringing, your environment, systemic issues that we're dealing with within society that can kind of have a youth feeling that way, and that's unfortunate.
Well, what was the, so to speak, as an analogy, the candy that got you into that? Was it looking at, I'm dealing $15,000 a day in drugs. I'm making money here, and if I transfer this into the real world, it'll take me forever. Was that the part that you wanted the rewards? You just didn't want to put the work into it.
Exactly. It was immediate gratification, lazy-minded, all of those things. It was a quick way out. And that's what comes with it.
In 2019, when you got out, and again, we're talking to Aaron Smith, who has a successful podcast called Escaping the Odds. We'll be speaking in Starkville tomorrow, and I'll ask you more about that a little bit later on. But you started this immediately when you got out, or tell me about exactly what you were doing and what you've been doing since you've been out.
Yeah, I was released in February of 2019, and I had this idea for Escaping the Odds podcast way back in 2015 while I was incarcerated. I had the opportunity to come across a lot of good guys, incarcerated that were either formerly like business executives or they were aspiring entrepreneurs. And we would have these great conversations, just over business. And I was like, wow, society has no idea that these men exist. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to tell these stories. So I decided to create this podcast where I interview the formerly incarcerated who are now successful entrepreneurs for two reasons. I wanted to change the narrative, for one, and also I wanted to increase my own social capital because I had no professional network at all. And I thought this would be a great idea to kind of get the ball rolling with that. And so we kicked off our first episode in December of 2019, and we just finished our third season, over 60 stories. And it's been really great. Opened up a lot of doors for me.
I understand you got the media for award for Just Society Award in the podcast category, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I did. I was surprised about that. I never knew about the Evidence Change Award, so that was an honor.
Yeah. What is one of the things in the latest ventures, U-Turn Transport? What is that?
Yeah, U-Turn Transport. It's a trucking company. I've always wanted to start a trucking company. That was a little bit of experience that I had prior to my incarceration. I worked for one of the largest freight brokers while I was on bond. So I had the opportunity to learn the inside and out of the trucking industry. And once I was away, I started talking to a lot of guys who wanted to go into the industry. I'm like, well, you know what? I think that's something that I can do once I get out. Yeah. And so I said, well, I'll work for a freight broker overnight while I kind of do other things during the daytime that's more entrepreneurial. And from that, I decided to start my own trucking company last year. And the premise is to hire formerly incarcerated people to kind of become their own operator. And I've been doing that thus far.
Aaron, does that work hand in hand with the other one, which is called Stretch Finance that you were talking about, or is that separate?
Yeah, it's trucking as a whole, but that's a different company. Escaping Odds partner with that company to produce a all-inclusive, if you will, comprehensive trucking course. But it's for people that don't have a commercial driver license. So we teach them how to find dispatchers, brokers, and the likes.
I'm going to ask you this when we come back, if you can take a break with me. True or false, and you can answer this when we come back. True or false, you find people who are more willing today than ever to help people get on their feet to prevent recidivism, or is it worse today? We'll talk about that with Aaron Smith, founder Escaping the Odds, also about his appearance in Starkville. We'll do all that when we return right here. Back live in the Trustmark studios, managing your home mortgage to home equity line of credit. Trustmark is there with people you trust, advice that works, member FDIC. And we're talking with Aaron Smith, founder of Escaping the Odds Media. Aaron, when you've had a chance to look at this in both ways, do you think we're getting better and understanding that we have to be more involved or less in saying, okay, we're going to find you a job. We're going to establish some funding where you don't have to immediately hit the streets again and be thrown back in prison. Are we doing a better job on that?
I think we are. I can remember hearing stories while I was incarcerated of people that went to prison and got out and came back years prior, and they would just talk about like how there wasn't really a lot of services for them, but nevertheless, I was finding things preparing for my release that was there to kind of assist me to not come back. And so it's more of a soft on crime approach.
Where were you in federal prison?
I was in Sandstone, Minnesota, way up north.
Whoa. You didn't have to worry about the air conditioning there, did you? So,
not at all.
I haven't asked you this. Where are you from
I'm from Chicago originally.
Oh, you are from Chicago?
I currently live in Chicago as well.
I want to ask you your trip to Mississippi, where you're going to be speaking, when you're going to be speaking, and what are you going to be talking about?
Yeah, tomorrow there's the third annual Center for Reentry, Mississippi Center for Reentry. Tomorrow in Starkville, not too far. Yes, in Starkville, Mississippi. It'll be the first time that I'll come to Mississippi. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, good.
Yeah. And pretty much it's all day event from 9 to 5 p.m. And I will be hosting a podcast session and pretty much storytelling. I'll be interviewing, I believe, 8 individuals that were formerly incarcerated and just talking about how they changed their lives around. Pretty much no different than what I already do, just kind of only centered for people that are from Mississippi.
Aaron, who's putting that on? You know?
Sinatra Freeman. She's the executive director for Mississippi Center for Reentry. She's doing a great job.
I got you. Well, any final thoughts before we let you go? And I know you got to make your travel plans and get here, but and don't eat so you can eat a lot when you get here. So we got some good food.
Looking forward to that. Yeah,
and some good people too. You know, when I spent time in Chicago, and we were talking about the Marina Towers. That's where we had our graduation in the Marina Towers at school. But and this was a long time ago. But it was amazing to me that most of the guys and ladies in the school, Mississippi at that particular time was as far away as behind the Iron Curtain. They knew nothing about Mississippi. Everybody lived in a shack, a shotgun house. They thought some of us were still wearing antebellum skirts. Man, it's just it is amazing. But look. Welcome, and I hope you have a good visit and continue on what you're doing because it apparently it is resonating with a lot of people. And again, the name of the podcast is Escaping the Odds.
That's it. Thank you for having me on, Paul.
You got it. Aaron, thank you, man.